Today I'm kitbashing a couple of Sekhetar robots in two different styles. Those are the new robots that 1000 Suns got, which everybody was quite disappointed with. And everybody was saying, well, you just have to paint them better than the professionals at Games Workshop have done, and then they'll look okay. So I figure, what if I don't paint as well as the professionals, then maybe I should just work on the model itself and just make them look cooler. So I'm doing two different styles, because my 1000 Suns army is going to look very varied. Every unit or every sorcerer has gone out into the universe, got a couple rubrics with him, and now they're coming back together to fight for a common cause. And so everything can have its own theme. And I have a squad of Tomb King rubrics, and so I'm going to make some Tomb King Sekhetar robots. And the basis for the kitbash is going to be these guys, the sepulchral stalkers from the Tomb Kings from the old world. There's a nice plastic kit, it's not resin, thank God, otherwise I wouldn't be kitbashing with it. And there's sort of two ways that you can build them. One like this with a sort of cobra body, and the other one like that with the arms. And I have to use the arms because it needs a bunch of guns, these robots. So I got two of them prepared here. I'm going to assemble them, and then I've got to add on some of these weapons. And I'm going to keep it pretty simple with a claw and a flamer for these guys, and maybe the others get some other weapons, we'll see. I like to just reuse all the bits that I can find on a sprue and not have too much left over, because it's pricey enough, this hobby. So this claw is just going to go stick right in here. The flamer is just going to get glued here to this arm, and then I need to have those rocket pods on the back. Rocket pods done. Time to slap his face on there, and then I think these guys are done. They need a little bit of sprue glue to fill up the gaps and make the parts fit a little bit better, but it's pretty good already. So I want to make two more that can go with my sorcerer in Terminator armor, which is kind of like bone constructs that he's been summoning. And I'm going to use these guys, the Mortex Cyclopeans, as parts, not completely these guys. Why am I using them? Because I have them left over. All of these I can see myself using elsewhere, like those wings for some Night Lord, Jump Lord or something. I already have two of these dogs with my Terminator sorcerer. This centaur over here, maybe I'm one day gonna do some Chaos Dwarf Wotan stuff, and I need centaurs for that, but I'm never gonna use these guys, so I might as well use them for this. But the issue is that if you have the body of the Sekhetar robots, the legs are really pretty short. It looks almost comically small. So I think what would be better is if I use these legs to sort of suspend the body in the air on crackling bolts of energy. First, I need a bit of structural strength. So I'm going to take some 2mm wire, and I'm just going to connect the hip directly to the upper part of the leg. There's already a nice hole in there. I just have to drill it out, drill a hole in the hip. And then I have something that's strong enough to hold the body up, because I'll need that, because it's going to be quite a bit of weight hanging on these wires. So this 2mm piece of wire goes straight through the hip, and I'm just going to bend it a little bit, make it point down a little bit so that the legs are going to be lower than the body. So the body is really floating above the legs, kind of in the wrong place, like it's not in the right hip location. And then I'm going to stick these into the legs. And then I get some of this smaller 0.5mm thick wire, and I'm going to get some really nice sort of electrical power effects going from the legs to the body. Make it look like it's pushing that body up a bit. Like here, it's going to be more on the back and so on and so forth. Let me just finish this up and then we'll move to the weapons. Actually, I'm going to stick with the original weapons of the Sekhetar robots. I quite like them, and this way it looks more like how it's supposed to be. Like the body is a robot and then the legs are going to be bony. But I'm also going to change the heads. I'm not going to use the actual heads of these robots. I'm going to give them the heads from the Gothitsar Harvester. So that's these heads. And one of them is kind of like a bird and one of them is kind of like a crocodile. Both perfect animals for 1000 Suns. And then they look like this. Of course, the heads are separate from the body right now, and this pin is way too long, but at least gives me the opportunity to paint them separately, and then I can just pin them right into the body right there. And I think I'll have some nice bony construct like Sekhetar robots. So it's time for a quick paint scheme. And these bone constructs, I just gave them a nice bone primer, and now I'm going to dry brush the bony parts with some white, while I'm not going to touch the metallic parts yet. I really want to make that distinction. One part is 1000 Suns metallic, the other part is bone constructs and summoned. Then a quick wash with some Seraphim Sepia, and it's time to start painting 1000 Suns colors. With some Ahriman blue, Retributor armor, and white to give him those nice sailor jerseys that 1000 Suns walk around with for some reason. Anyway, I'm gonna do the weapons in a bit of contrast black just to turn them dark so I can dry brush them with Iron Warriors and silver. And then it's time for a grime wash with brown for green vehicles from AK Interactive, because it gives a bunch of different effects. It makes it look dirty, makes it look a little bit rusty, and it just darkens the recesses a bit as well. And I hit some of those ridges with some silver just to give it some battle damage, make it look a little bit more worn as if it's been used. You know, in my army, the sorcerers that are alive don't take great care of everything else around them. Not the rubrics, not the automatons, definitely not these robots. So time for some of this magical effect glow, and I'm just using Tesseract Glow over white, and then I'm gonna dry brush on some sort of OSL with some Warpstone Glow around the parts where the light might hit. And then I come back in with some Tesseract Glow on the edges to really make them pop. And I've already been working on the other robots, so let me show you how I painted those. And I'm gonna paint these guys as golden constructs. So I'm gonna start with a rough dry brush of some Gehenna's gold, followed by Auric Armor gold to give it some shine, and some red and blue details, followed by the same brown wash as the other guys. Now I've got to highlight all the little color details again, and I'm gonna make these white plates over here glossy, just as I did with my Tomb King's squad. That way they better fit with the rest of the army. And after a quick bit of basing, my Sekhetar Robot Kitbashes are done. And these are pretty basic, but I quite like them. Usually my Kitbashes involve a lot more bits and pieces and they go a lot further than this, but I think it worked out alright. And these robots, for me, they are more of an attachment to the Rubric squads that I'm working on. The Rubric squads are quite intricate, quite a lot of bits and pieces, quite a good story behind them, the sorcerers as well. And then these guys are sort of filler in the army, because I want to have these Rubric squads supported by maybe a spawn or two, and maybe a robot or two, just little bits and pieces that reinforce the theme that the Rubrics bring to my army. Now there's lots and lots and lots of Thousand Suns Kitbashes already on my channel. I'll link all of the videos down below in the description and in the comments, so you can go binge some of those other Kitbashes. I think you'll enjoy them. A massive thank you to my patrons and channel members. You guys rock. Your support is absolutely invaluable. And join the Discord. We have a nice little community all about kitbashing. You can get help and show off your own Kitbashes. It's pretty cool. So in the meantime, maybe check out these videos next.